Welcome back to Talking Talk Tuah. We're your hosts. I'm Cam.
And I'm Pete.
And we're doing an emergency breakdown of our appearance on Talk Tuah.
That's right.
We were invited on Chelsea and Haliey's podcast.
I don't think either of us really saw this coming when we set out to companion Talk Tuah. I'm sure we both knew it was going to be a wild ride, but to end up in, the Talk Tuah lair, Haliey's kingdom itself, who could have guessed a matter of months ago that this could have happened?
That's right. I mean, we've been, the companion podcast to Talk Tuah since October.
Yeah.
And as a companion podcast, you're dutifully, watching weekly that, this beautiful audio visual format and, taking notes, thoughtfully interpreting what happens on the show, what's said on the show. We like to analyze the production, the frame of the show. Every podcast frame really is a painting.
Last but not least, also the conversations themselves.
How could I forget?
These are lively and spirited, and it's awesome to learn about Haliey and Chelsea and whatever guests come into the lair each week.
Look, this has been one hell of a ride because when we first started this companion podcast back in October, we never had the expectation of actually going on their show as guests.
No.
We were just thinking, we can just break down the show for as long as it goes on, which in the podcasting world, hopefully is infinity.
Yeah.
Forever.
Yeah. Well, why would there be a natural end to something like this?
But, we started this in October. Before that, for anyone who's new to this just watching, we were the companion podcast to Mr. Beast's content library.
That's right.
Now, we had to step away because there were some accusations and they were mounting.
Yeah, it was getting tough to separate the art from the artist, and it just so happened that Haliey was emerging onto the scene with Talk Tuah. And look, we were even juggling watching Mr. Beast's content and the first few episodes of Talk Tuah before we realized, look, there's a bit of a vacuum here. There isn't a companion podcast to Haliey's show. There's no Talk Tuah companion podcast, and we deliberated a bit, and we decided, I think it was around her fourth or fifth episode, that maybe we can step up to the plate here and be that companion podcast.
That's right. We were actually a little late to the game.
Yeah,
and just being so inspired by Haliey, and feeling like we kind of owe her for saving us from a content slump.
Yeah.
Because there was a time in our lives between, the end of our Mr. Beast pod and then Talking Talk Tuah that we weren't producing content.
Yes, a content crash out.
And I was depressed.
Yeah.
I was having horrific thoughts, not being able to contribute to my local algorithm feed.
Yeah, I was consistent migraines.
I felt sick.
Yeah.
I felt sick.
It was like cutting nicotine out.
But, Haliey, she really, really gave us a second wind. And so for us to be able to go on the show, I felt like we have to repay her with good content.
Yeah, of course.
Look, Haliey and Chelsea, they hung the moon.
Yeah.
And so it was up to us, when asked, to go on their show to give the best podcasting performance we could have gave. And look, I think we did to the best of our ability. Yeah. I think this brought up a lot of concerns, a lot of thoughts for us that we're going to be sharing in this episode.
Of course.
A lot of feelings about podcasting as a whole.
Yeah.
But look, the thing is, we went on her show about a few weeks ago.
Yeah. Back in the beginning of April.
It was on the same day that the Chanel West Coast episode was being filmed.
Yeah, we filmed directly after Haliey had just recorded with Chanel West Coast. And then, we're third episode out in season 2. She'd already filmed an episode with KSI. That was the season premiere. But believe it or not, there was an original season 2 of Talk Tuah that ended up getting canned, I think because of, podcasting distribution struggles. And we were a part of that first batch of this failed season 2 where it never saw the light of day, but we had an original conversation with Haliey and Chelsea that, the footage is out there. It's, in the hands of a certain Paul brother.
Well, we don't know.
But
if we had to speculate, we'd just say, look, we went on the podcast.
Yeah, when it was...
We were invited on the podcast.
Yeah.
When it was under Better.
Yeah, the management
Jake Paul's sports betting company.
Yeah.
And so we had that conversation, which was recorded onto a hard drive, which then I don't know where it was edited. Maybe at someone's house.
Yeah.
And I think
Could be in a vault in Puerto Rico for all we know.
Sure. No one's paying taxes on that SSD.
No.
But what we do know is that Haliey owns the show now, which, again, this is a major transformation. This is an incredible evolution of just, ownership as an artist. You want to own your own content.
Yeah.
Jake Paul's Better isn't in the picture anymore, and so I think some of those conversations that were recorded under his reign aren't going to make it out. Yeah. So if anyone has that conversation, maybe you have 24 hours to upload it to YouTube, unlisted. Send us the link so we can review it. And don't give me that audio only bullcrap, because we know that the video was recorded as well. Yeah. So we know it is out there.
Yeah, I'd love to see it. I think the world would love to see it. This is the first recorded conversation that we had with Haliey and Chelsea. I mean, we had been in talks with the Talk Tuah team for quite a while. I mean, stretching back even to mid-November, I believe we received the first communication from, it was more the better side of things, that a representative from their team reached out to us about a possible collaboration. But I mean, look, we were still babies. We were spending time in the crib still.
Think about it from our perspective. We're the companion podcast to Talk Tuah. Talk Tuah reaches out and says, hey, what do you guys think about coming on the show? That's like if I went to my first ever, open mic, and, I'm doing it for 4 people, and I'm trying to work out my punchlines and all that kind of stuff. And then Matt Refe hits me up and says, hey, man, you want to open up for me on the I Heart MILFs tour? I mean, I'd be honored, and obviously I'd want to. Yeah. But the idea of then going up when I'm not that experienced and having to do crowd work and just annihilate people, like, to the same degree he can. Yeah. Where someone is like, he's like, hey, who's that? Some guy's next to another guy. He's like, who's that? Is that your boyfriend? And the guy's like, no, that's my dad. Yeah. And he crushes that guy, and it's hilarious. Yeah. Or what if he does an amazing joke about, like, guys and girls can't be friends because guys always want the girl. Yeah. I just wouldn't have material on the same, spectral plane as that of funny.
Of course not.
So that's kind of the boat that we were in, of like, look, obviously we'd want to go on the show. Yeah. It's something we'd have to work up to. Yeah. Be comfortable with.
I mean, podcasting is a muscle. And look, I think even if you watch our episode, I mean, look, we're not the most natural conversationalists. We're no Josh Richards by any means.
No, not at all.
But it felt way too premature in November to potentially meet Haliey. I mean, keep in mind, this is Haliey and Chelsea are the subjects of our coverage and criticism, and it just felt way too early.
Look, it was a Pandora's box situation, right? Once you take the genie out of the bottle, you can't put it back in. No. So we went on the show, we saw how it operates behind the scenes, right? Yeah. We see how that sausage is made. We talked to Haliey and Chelsea, we met them. Pookie is texting us. Yeah. So it's, for us to go in when we had only done this for 1 month, we're kind of thinking, would it ever be the same? Yeah. After that, and we're kind of at a crossroads right now of, can we still dutifully companion a podcast when we are biased? Because I'm biased to Chelsea and Haliey. I am.
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm definitely in a different headspace now, having seen everything, knowing them on a first name basis at this point. It's just, it's going to be tough. I don't want to say that it's impossible, but...
Is it going to be hard?
Yeah.
Is it going to be difficult?
Yeah, it will. And I think that we came in at a good time. I mean, keep in mind that back in November as well, we were still behind on her back catalog of episodes.
We said we want to get as close as we can.
We got to know everything about her and Chelsea before we go on.
That's right.
I mean, she went on the sabbatical back in December, and it gave us ample time to catch up, learn a little bit more about other podcasts that we covered in her time away.
And what an adventure we had.
Yeah.
What a fun time we had.
Yeah, it's been an incredible ride, and I think we were primed pretty well to go on their show and have this honest, open conversation with them, get to learn a bit more about them firsthand, and look back at what fun we all had in watching, and they did it, season 1.
It was also difficult because, again, we went on the show. That footage goes missing. with Malaysian flight 747 or whatever.
Yeah.
Somewhere in the Bermuda Triangle. Who knows?
Yeah.
But trying to recapture that energy.
Yeah.
In a second interview was pretty difficult.
It was. Didn't feel as raw, as real, I guess.
But still, we had a blast.
We did. Don't get that right. Don't get me wrong there.
I want to come clean about something.
Yeah, please.
We drank Java Monsters before going on. Yeah. They had her manager, Jamie, who we'd love to get on the podcast for an interview to work on our conversational skills.
Yeah.
He had some three Monster Energies.
Yep.
And there were three guys. It was us and our manager, Drew.
Yeah.
And we all said, maybe we crack into the Monster, unleash the beast.
Yeah. Drew had the Irish cream one? Or was that you? Okay.
No, I'm lactose intolerant, so he had to take the hit there.
Okay. I had vanilla bean, I think.
I just went for probably the Java Monster.
I think, yeah.
But I was squirrely after that. I was, going into the podcast, if you're watching and thinking, oh, these guys, they're not, when I'm watching them on their show, it's one energy, and now they're on Talk Tuah, they're a little bit more closed, different energy. Think about it like this. We were nervous.
Yeah. It was towards the end of a busy work day, keep in mind,
we both have full-time jobs. I mean, we're going to have to lift the veil on that.
Yeah.
We both work 40 hours at least a week.
Yeah, and so this was at the end of a tough work day where, we had this on our schedules, but, it was tough to get time off from work, and we had to hurry to the studio, and
the parking was better the second time.
Yeah, it was better.
That was a huge plus.
Yeah, the side street had a lot more spaces.
But so we went on. We were a little nervous.
Yeah.
And going on someone else's podcast is like going out to dinner with someone else. It's like, you have to be respectful of their rules. You want to make sure to use your please and thank yous. Yeah. You want to be respectful. And we were trying to remember all these things because, we have a certain energy between us.
Yeah, je ne sais quoi.
But then going on their podcast, and I was trying to take notes, and I was trying to listen, and then the Monster was just fueling through my little body.
Yeah, I mean, my veins were popping at points, and I was definitely seeing things in the corner of the room that I'm not sure were there. Because, Chelsea was moved out of the corner of the room this time around. I mean, that's an upgrade from season 1. Chelsea's no longer in the corner, so I don't know what I was seeing in the
I felt like I was on Molly because also, at one point we were smoking cigars.
Yeah, I think that was another maybe misdirect, if I can say so. I mean, Haliey's managers offered us some cigars when we came into the studio alongside the Java Monsters, and I think they thought maybe it'd make us feel more at ease in the studio. I mean, I'm surprised they let you smoke in the studio, but, that's how chill and laid back this team is.
Well, Wiz did it.
Yeah, but a cigar is a different matter.
And I told Jamie, I said, look, I'm not the Che Guevara type, but if you think it'll be cool, me puffing on that little Cuban, I'll do it.
Yeah.
And so he gave us the, clipper thing, which I put in my jacket pocket, and he, gave us the torch.
Yeah. But when time came to light it, or a point that really felt like, I was really settling in, I went to, go and puff on that thing, and I realized that the clippers were not with me, that they were with Cam. I didn't want to disrupt his conversation. He was in
my flow.
Yeah, you were in the thick of it, and I just...
Oh, a little shout out to KSI.
Yeah, I'm glad you caught it. And I just, I stumbled. I realized I don't really know the machinations of a cigar, where I just tried lighting the end regardless and puffing through, the enclosed other end, so I wasn't really getting anything from this, and it ended up looking a little rough, and I apologize to the viewers at home who may have been put off by this.
No one's going to see it because it got cut. That's the thing. A lot of this episode was cut. I mean, we probably talked for an hour 20. It felt like maybe an hour 30. I don't know. That's what it felt like.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly felt like we got through a lot with Haliey and Chelsea, and a lot made it into the final ep. But
a lot of things got cut from this episode. And one of the big things for me was when I finally had to wave my white flag in defeat about Matt Refe.
Yeah.
Early in the season, I was heavily team Matt Refe. Pete was team Pookie.
Roll back the clips. I mean, look, there were plenty of times
where both team Pookie
things
right
got
now.
Heated.
Sure.
But only one victor could emerge.
But are you really going to sit here after all this and tell me Matt Refe is not the funniest comedian in the game right now?
I never said such an insane thing.
Look, I surrendered, okay? I put down my sword. And I told, Haliey asked me, she said, what are you trying to stir up something in me and Pookie's relationship? And I just said, look, the reason I said Matt Refe is because, I think he's really funny, all this stuff.
Yeah.
But earlier in the season, she would say, Pookie hasn't taken me on a date and all this stuff. That kind of stuff concerned me.
Yeah.
I think I was just a little worried. I was Brother Bear, I was like, I was, gnarling my teeth.
It's all balderdash. I mean, look, I think it's always been clear that Pookie is a incredible match for Haliey and Matt Rife.
I think so,
while
too.
Incredibly gifted and hilarious in so many regards.
No, he is the hilarious.
Yeah, he
no one
defines
else as funny as him.
He certainly defines hilarity, but I just don't think that he was necessarily a match for Haliey. He's got too much of that bad boy edge to him.
All right, kick me while I'm down. Look, rub some salt in my wound.
I'm just glad you brought it up. I appreciate you owning up to this,
the fight,
matter of defeat.
The fight is no more. I let down my drawbridge. You came in and sacked my city.
I just wish that the wider audiences at home could have seen this in the full Talk Tuah episode.
It was brutal. I was put in the hot seat.
I mean, maybe the Talk Tuah's team is reserving that footage for a Patreon or something. I mean, we'd love to cover a Patreon in the future, Haliey, but I don't know if who knows where that footage went. Maybe it wasn't cut for prime time. Maybe my cigar fumbling was just too embarrassing, and I then in that case I appreciate them withholding that footage. But yeah, that was a pivotal moment when we were there talking to them.
There was also another moment that was cut.
Yeah.
Before we really get into the weeds of this episode, that was when we were asked what our favorite episodes were.
Yeah.
And with mine, I said, is it Dasha? Is it Dasha?
It's Dasha.
Okay. Dasha?
It's like the word dash. Yeah.
Yeah,
Dasha.
Okay. Well, I said that was my favorite episode, but then I took the opportunity to explore her fib a little bit because she did lie after all.
Yeah.
She came on the podcast and told Haliey and Chelsea to their face.
Yeah. Just in episode 4.
She flew from New York to London on Southwest, which some of our junior analysts pointed out there's no direct flight from there.
It's not even a Southwest region on the map by any means. I mean, you're talking the Northeast to Western Europe.
And then she started talking about going to this club, The Box, and seeing a DJ eat their own excrement.
Yeah, their fecal matter just in front of everyone in the crowd. It just seemed like a pretty tall tale, and
Picks or it didn't happen. That's my motto. Picks or it didn't happen.
And we brought this up. We posited that it was quite the tall tale, and we asked Haliey and Chelsea if they had any more intel about Dasha's big story.
Is it Dasha?
Yeah, it is Dasha, I believe. Yeah, Dasha. And this moment got cut. Haliey and Chelsea didn't seem to know anymore. They were put off by that Southwest revelation as well.
Look, let's cut the crap.
But that's the power of journalism.
We know why it was cut.
Yeah.
Because we went on and immediately ranked the production from season 1.
Yeah.
The editor, we had to give him a slap on the wrist.
Yeah.
I want to give the editor an A-. Okay, we didn't give him a great score.
Well, yeah, he flubbed the export on the Holly Madison episode where, the codec was all fucked at a couple of different points in the episode.
I don't know what he did with that codec, but he trashed it.
He certainly didn't review it before they hit upload.
Well, this criminal definitely got his revenge because, he switched the order of some of the things in our episode. So when our episode first starts out, just jumping into it, and we start reviewing the different, production members that went in season 1.
Yeah.
That was actually something we saved for last chronologically because we weren't going to go into Haliey and Chelsea's podcast and just start crapping on the production.
No.
That would create a horrible energy.
Yeah.
That was something to work up to because it's a tough conversation to have. It's a hard pill to swallow.
It certainly is.
So, we reserved it for last, maybe the penultimate moment, but the editor cleverly inserted it up front, which I thought was interesting because then we talked about things like Chelsea's privacy blinds. Now you have privacy blinds.
Right. So again, you can't see people walking back and forth.
And privacy blinds.
Right.
Also, we repeated some other phrases. Oh, I talked about Josh Richards.
Yeah.
Is there anything specific you guys want to see in season 2?
Season 2. Well, if there's any way you could have Josh Richards back on.
No.
Okay.
I'd like to see Josh Richards back on.
mentioned the Mr. Beast past with our show. I mean, before this, we were studying Mr. Beast's content library and covering that, breaking that down weekly. We covered Mr. Beast for a little bit.
He's a cool guy.
Sorry. And it didn't really make sense with the flow of the episode.
It just got repeated.
Preferred it where it actually was, because then when we talk about the studio and the new changes, we talk about the privacy blinds, we're like, we're saying it as if we're, seeing it for the first time.
Yeah.
But
certainly
we had
wasn't.
said it before with that.
Yeah.
And I'd like to speculate that the editor was punishing us by cutting out those 2 moments, the Matt Refe bit and the Dasha bit, which I thought, again, it was a critical part of the conversation.
Yeah.
But the editor went Thanos snap on our ass.
Yeah.
And just deleted it out of thin air.
About
he has
half
the power
the episode.
to do that.
Yeah.
Him and his crony, the assistant editor, they worked in tandem to just destroy that without any oversight.
Yeah. No,
so
it's a bunch of bullcrap.
That scares me for season 2.
Knowing
Knowing this guy is on the loose. Did we see him there?
No.
He was in the shadows.
He certainly was. And I don't know when he got the footage, how quick he was to make these swift executions, but it just, that definitely rattles me. I mean, I think...
Should one man have the power to execute that much of a podcast conversation without any oversight?
No.
Judge, jury, executioner. That's insane.
It's certainly spine-tingling, and I guess I just want to show gratitude for the fact that none of the other Talk Tuah production teams, seem to take any retaliatory measures against us for, our scores. Well, we went down a rubric for each of their departments and, how they did during season 1.
So if we were to assign scores to the different members of production, Cam Up, you're going to get an F. Horrible headroom on Chelsea consistently. I don't know why that was never addressed. Yeah. I'm sorry you had to deal with that.
Location Scout, I'm going to give them an F.
Script Supervisor, this is going to be a C+. And look, the editor really got our goods when he uploaded this.
Yeah.
And it said, the girls, whatever, talking to recappers. We're not podcast recappers.
No.
We're a companion podcast.
That's right.
Not many people out there maybe know what a companion podcast is. Should we take the time to explain it?
Certainly.
I think it's pretty self-explanatory, but, why don't we just...
It's a podcast consisting of one or more persons offering a companion analysis to another podcast.
That's right.
So that listeners can, better understand the podcast that's being companionized.
And look, maybe we just get too excited in some of these breakdowns where we go through every little nook and cranny of the episode, but there's always a lot to talk about. So maybe we just have to work on doing a better job of just breaking down and analyzing critical moments that deserve discussion, even though the entire podcast warrants hefty conversation.
Yeah, I agree. I could, use some brevity in my speaking.
But here's one area that I want to focus on.
Yeah,
the new and revamped studio.
Yeah.
So when we first went in there, I was blown away.
Yeah.
The beautiful Horton Hears a Who gray walls. You were sitting in a lemon love seat.
Yeah.
I was in a purple pastiche pillow.
Yeah, a bit royal.
Chelsea got her privacy blinds.
Yeah.
She had some Mother's Day mums.
So much beautiful floral arrangements around.
Haliey had her garden grove.
Yeah.
And I took the time to point out, and I know this was uncomfortable in the moment, but it had to be said.
Yeah.
And they didn't cut to the wide shot for it. Again, this is a little bit of the editor's deception.
Yeah.
So don't be fooled. There is an outlet right above the Talk Tuah sign.
That's right.
If I were to give a little bit of critique here, I see an electrical outlet just above there.
Yeah, I also noticed that.
If anyone were to charge their phone, I just don't like that it would drape right through your name. And I said, look, anyone that charges their phone on there, it's going to dangle down and droop through the sign.
Yeah, not a good look.
It's going to be a horrible look.
Yeah.
And so that's just more of like, look, the voltage floor map. I don't know. Maybe this is more electrical.
Yeah. Does there really need to be an outlet up there? It just feels a little bit haphazard. That's all we're saying.
If anything, we could cover it up with a painting.
Yeah.
Maybe like this one, which if you remember this is the original art from the studio.
Yeah.
Season 1, which Haliey gave it to us at the end of that first appearance that we were on that never aired.
Haliey is depicted as a Superwoman-esque figure, and they just could never figure out how to frame this thing.
That's gracious of you that they never figure out. They were intentionally covering it up because, look, they were trying to sabotage Haliey, and I think it's a beautiful picture. It was painted to Haliey from this guy Tim. It's now
Timothy Oliphant. I don't believe it's the actor.
Now to us. So
yeah. So thank you, Timothy. Wherever you are, whether you're a fan of our show or just Haliey's, we're thankful to have a piece of your original art in our place now. But
this is something that makes me just feel so inspired.
Yeah.
And I hope makes other people feel inspired, because as a companion podcast, we analyze, we break down, we suggest, how could you make this conversation, this podcast, even better?
Yeah.
And they listen to us. Yeah. Because, the first time around, we talked about this pain, we criticized it, and, it's either cut off here, wherever. And Haliey just said, screw it. You guys just take it.
Yeah.
Because I don't even want to play around with that anymore.
Yeah. She has better ideas of how to spruce up the studio, fix all the errors that we were ruminating on for all of season 2.
That's right. But yeah, we go into the studio, everything's new.
Yeah.
And they really listen to us.
It was so gratifying to see that, these weren't just crackpot theories that we were throwing out week after week, that these were real things that were probably bugging more than a few people on set at a time. Millions. Over at Talk Tuah.
Millions of audience members.
With season 2 offering a chance for a reinvention and a refresh on the series as a whole, they really have taken advantage of it. And it's just been incredible to have our feedback listened to and taken heed of. And while there were a few blips throughout this episode, it really seems like they've tightened so many of the bolts on the Talk Tuah production wagon.
Look, I can't go over how gratifying it was to be in that studio and, see all those changes, because everyone wants the benefits of, the civic lifestyle, whatever,
of course.
With podcasting at least, right?
Yeah.
We all want to be able to listen to podcasts with only a few ads here and there.
Yeah.
We only want a pre, mid, and post roll.
Yeah, not much.
Awesome ads. But we want to be able to enjoy these podcasts whenever we want.
Yeah.
For free, at our fingertips.
Of course.
We want to enjoy all the perks of podcasts. But when it comes to the civic responsibilities of podcasts, when it actually comes time to say, let me go on a forum for this podcast, let me say how could they improve it?
Yeah.
Let me suggest, let me give feedback.
Yeah, let me ask my creators to improve week after week, really hone in on their craft.
No, that's a shoot. It's completely a shoot in today's society, because nobody wants that responsibility, and it feels like we're the only guys taking it on.
Yeah, it's tough, but I think that's what made this so special, to see it firsthand. Like
we could actually make a difference.
Yeah.
Other people can make a difference.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's so many podcasts out there who are probably a bit lost in or stuck in their ways, a little bit lost at sea, wondering how they can really elevate their show to the next level. And look, I'm sure there's a lot of open ears out there, and I don't know. It's exciting to think that there's a world out there that you can, exert some control over and ask for improvements from.
Now, as a companion podcast, let's try and spice it up a little bit.
Yeah.
We're always the forward momentum. We're moving in a positive direction. So let's just pick a couple of moments to talk about. Do you have any key ones that you'd like to chat with me about?
Well, at 5 minutes and 45 seconds, I hate to start with a bummer moment, but we could see the light mat that was lighting the room reflecting on the Talk Tuah sign. Now, the sign we had issues with in the past, and I think ironically we were talking about these grievances with Haliey as it cut to the wide, and you could see this light mat reflection. Previously, that Haliey's name had just been overblown in exposure, and they have fixed that for the most part. It's just now that the tittle, thank you to a commenter on last week's episode of ours who shared that word tittle, the tittle over the I in Haliey's name is just too close. The kerning is just too tight with the body of the I, and so it looks like it's Haliey with Haliey Welch, and that issue still needs to be addressed, but the light mat was, the new distraction this week. And I think that when we're cutting to the wide, if we could just be mindful of, reflections, these stray reflections that just become a bit of an eyesore for the viewers. But yeah, that's just one moment that I think we do need to call out because, again, we want to see positive changes week after week.
Well, I guess while you're at it, around 8 minutes, 17 seconds, there is a little frame bump on Haliey.
Yeah.
Abraham Lincoln.
I just feel like we're too far in the game to be making these kind of mistakes.
Yeah.
I need to be positive about this.
Yeah.
I think I'm just venting right now, letting off some steam.
Yeah.
But especially with us on it, I knew we were going to be targets.
Yeah.
I knew we would, but why punish Haliey?
Yeah. I don't...
Bump our tripod,
Yeah.
give us the shaky thing.
You can shoot the messengers. Look, we won't mind as much.
I was expecting that they would Sparta kick us in a hole.
Yeah.
Rather than give Haliey a shaky little frame for a second.
But nevertheless, they did it. Those
did.
bastards. But
Well-
I do also want to note, I mean, I'm sorry to lean so much into the negative here already off the bat, but, Chelsea's focus was a bit soft throughout a lot of the episode. And that
Again,
got
it was
to
a
be-
hostage situation, and I wish they were transparent about it.
Yeah.
If that cam op looked me in the eyes,
Yeah.
and the cam op was in so briefly,
Yeah.
we, because we were talking to her manager before we went in, the girls were already seated, so
We didn't get business cards, unfortunately.
but that cam op came in like Mr. Robot. I mean, a hoodie on, couldn't even make out his face.
No.
If I had to do a police lineup, I don't think I'd be able to recognize him.
Yeah, no. And so it's especially troubling. And I think it's just, again, if you can listen to some of our advice, we hope you can listen to even more of it. Maybe all
but
of it.
I don't understand. This was just cruel because,
They need to clean this shit up.
well, if the cam op had just told us at the time, you boys give me a bad report on your score,
Yeah.
Chelsea's frame, it's going to dip into something very abstract.
Yeah.
And, just his finger on that focus.
Yeah.
I would have said, listen, I'll do anything you want.
Yeah.
Please. Any amount of money. We've talked about
Yeah.
this. Whatever you want, just take your finger off the focus puller.
It's just, it doesn't have to be this way.
He was sending a message because we didn't know that. Watching this back and seeing Chelsea's frame so blurry, looking back and just saying, this guy he's in our heads now.
Yeah.
And he said, you want to mess with me? This is what I'm capable of.
I'll give you something to write home about when you get home.
He said, I like to hurt people.
Yeah.
And look at what he did to Chelsea. Look at what he did to Haliey.
It's unforgivable. And again, I'm sorry to start our coverage of this episode with a few downers, but we can move on to some great moments because I had so much fun talking to Haliey and Chelsea. And there was a fun moment where Ollie, the dog on set that day, was eating Chelsea's homework. She had, I think, the script supervisor had provided her with some questions, and this sheet of paper was just getting chewed apart by this little dog.
That's right. Now, it felt like a massive honor to be able to hit the girls with their own medicine, the rapid fire questions.
Yeah.
And I hope we did a good job.
I think we did.
Would you guys actually mind if we do, Chelsea, take your job for a second and do rapid fire questions?
Okay, go
Just
ahead.
going off that, what's your favorite sandwich?
Okay.
Top
okay.
3 animals.
Top 3 colors?
Favorite holiday.
Favorite episode of Talk Tuah?
Favorite ice cream flavor.
Favorite sport?
Favorite soda.
Favorite song?
Last one is favorite food.
Well, look, that's for the viewer to decide. Looking back, I wish I was a little faster on my feet with the questions. It's rapid fire.
Yeah.
I wanted to be going.
Yeah, there's a bit of dead air in between each question, but I think we were just in the mindset of, look, maybe these girls have more than just the answers they gave. Maybe they want to expound on these answers just a teeny bit. But again, it's up to us to really enforce the rapid fire, element of the rapid fire question section.
Now, going on this podcast, we flubbed it a couple times.
Yeah.
Podcasting is hard.
Yeah, it certainly is.
I think that was really just, the clearest example of, hey, this industry isn't for everyone, and we're trying our best, but it is hard.
It's not easy to sit down and talk with people.
And, right in the beginning, we had handed Haliey a toilet plunger with a pink bow tie on it.
That's
as a
right.
gift to Pookie.
Yeah.
It's for Pookie.
Oh,
Because he's a plumber.
Okay, so we can't lose the bow.
Okay, so I have bad news, guys, since the last time you were here. He is no longer a plumber.
What?
No.
Because Pookie is a union plumber.
Yeah.
Now, the first time we went on this episode, we got him,
A plumber's wrench.
that's right, with a pink bow tie on it.
Yeah.
So we went back to Home Depot to get him another thing. At a certain point, I wondered, are they just going to keep having us on to, give Pookie a nice Christmas?
Yeah, a little bit of bribery going on.
But anyway, this was when we learned that he actually had a major career change. He works in excavating and graveling, and he got a pressure washer.
That was awkward, yeah.
I felt like a dick.
I just wish we maybe could have been warned a little bit. I don't know why they thought that we wouldn't bring a second gift for Pookie for our second appearance.
Again, this is where I flubbed it again. Pookie had actually called me that Friday.
You think he was going to...
We were on that Monday, the Friday before he gave me a phone call.
You think he was going to tell you about his job switch?
I don't know, but I didn't pick up because I was at work. I saw it was just a number in Tennessee, and I just thought to myself, I don't know. I had been getting so many spam calls recently. I just opened up a new credit card line.
Yeah, but no voicemail about his excavation work?
No voicemail. And so
how could we have known?
Should I keep beating myself up? I feel bad about it.
No, it was certainly awkward, and it definitely made us look like bumbling fools for many people out there. But as long as we know the truth, that we didn't know any better. There's no way for us to really know.
If we knew, I would have gotten him a nice pressure washer.
I would have gotten him a damn big cat excavator.
Well, a flub for me overall in this episode was I was pretty quiet.
Yeah.
In the export. Now again, this could be the sound guy's revenge, but I think I have to own this one because I noticed that the mic was like here.
Yeah.
And I was feeling a little tipsy off that monster, and I tried adjusting it, and I'm not familiar with mic stands. I thought a mic stand specialist was going to come in and help me out.
Yeah.
And it felt like I was thrown to the wolves. I was trying to adjust it, and then I got scared I was going to break it. Those things are very sensitive and expensive.
Yeah, the mic stand specialist, I mean, it could have been on parental leave for all we know. It could have just out for the day or the week, the month. And yeah, we were kind of thrown to the wolves. My mic stand was actually drooping quite a bit too, and it was kind of blocking me into my chair so that I couldn't really lean forward for the Prosecco all that often.
Again,
for the mimosa.
It's like being invited into someone's house. You don't want to start just touching everything like crazy. Because also I didn't want to insult the production team of saying, if no one's saying anything, I guess it's fine.
Yeah.
But I should have moved it closer up. Again, we weren't wearing headphones.
How would we have known?
Okay, so maybe we shouldn't beat ourselves up because when you have headphones on, you can hear a little bit better the volume. With that, I was kind of just like a naked baby, trusting that an adult would steer me in the right direction.
Back to the mimosa in front of me. I think this was another bit of a mishap where, we were pouring this thing. Me and Cam took turns pouring for Chelsea and Haliey, and it just so happened that I think I gave Haliey a bit of a heavy pour and left very little Prosecco for myself. And so it was a bit of an awkward moment where I just had very little of the drink in front of me, but I guess it balanced out because, that mic stand prevented me from leaning forward all that frequent to pick up my glass.
But Pete, I think the real conversation we need to have, and this is probably the watershed flub of the episode, was when Haliey asked where we're from.
Yeah.
She asked, are you guys from around here? L.A.
Yeah.
And you said yes.
You guys are from here.
Yeah.
Right?
We're from outside of Philly. Pete, why'd you lie?
He said, why'd you lie?
Wait, did I say?
Yeah, you said yeah.
I think...
You lied to her face. Why?
I don't know what got in
I had to call you out, and it hurt for me. That really hurt for me to have to do that.
If I wanted to be kind to myself, I guess I would say that maybe I thought, given that Haliey is coming in from Nashville and that we technically do live in LA, that we are like from here from her point of view. But that's just crock of horse shit.
No, listen.
And I need to take accountability that I think I zoned out.
Okay. You were spacey. Why? We needed to be on our A game.
I know, and it could have been the monster. It could have been the long day at work. I don't know what was going through my mind.
Could it just be that with podcasting, you are in the element?
Yeah.
You have to be so quick on your feet.
Yeah.
Think about it. Someone asks you a question, boom, give me a response like that. And it has to be the right one.
Yeah.
That's really tough to do.
It is. And I think a lot of people take for granted like the skill of the average podcaster out there. Like it isn't easy to be able to ask questions and then answer them because it's two separate skills. And
you're sitting in a chair, so you're not really active with your body.
No.
It's just your mind has to be racing.
I appreciate your clemency on the matter, though, and for you correcting me.
I'm not squeaky clean either, though. I mean, around 29 minutes and 50 seconds. I don't know why I used Old English, but I did, and I talked about cows lowing, which...
Yeah.
You don't know what a blue heeler is?
I actually don't.
It's a cow dog.
Okay.
But I have a mini one.
Does he low? Instead of barking, does he low?
What does that mean?
Or lowing?
Lowing? Like,
Is that the
ooh?
sound that cows make? Lowing?
Moo. Moo. Like, ooh.
Yeah.
Lowing is the Old English version of mooing.
Yeah.
I kind of shut down. I didn't know what to do. Haliey thought I didn't know what mooing was.
I mean, hell, a baby could tell you a cow goes moo.
Sure. It was embarrassing. And I think I was red in the face. I was gasping for air inside. That monster was just, coursing its way through my little body.
I mean, I don't mean to be on your ass about this, but I just do think that was a bit of a tragic misstep. Look,
Sure.
we were all kind of like, what is this guy going on about?
Right. There's a time and a place for Old English.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't mean to be on your ass, but that one was rough.
Well, why don't you get in my ass about our Josh Richards obsession?
Yeah.
Because Haliey did.
Yeah.
We gave him at least 5 shout-outs.
We did. We aren't quiet or shy about this on our own show. I mean, we are big fans of the Josh Richards appearance in season 1. I mean, he aced that episode, really bearing his soul to all of us at home watching. And so, we just wanted to pay respects to him while we were on Talk Tuah. And apparently, it came across as a bit too far-fetched of an infatuation where Haliey, she took us to task on this.
Yeah, what's you guys' favorite episode we've done?
It's gotta be like the Josh Richards.
What is the obsession with him, guys?
She asked what's up with the obsession?
What's the obsession? How about the obsession is that he's the Matt Rife of podcasters.
Yeah.
At least when it comes to appearances on Talk Tuah.
Yeah.
I mean, he was such an incredible conversationalist. I'm dying to get the chance to talk to this guy about anything. I don't know if we're there yet.
Give it some time. I mean...
Sure, I don't want to jump the gun.
Give it some time. I mean, we're young guppies, and he is just so interesting, but we got to cool it a little bit, I think. Sure. We are coming on strong, probably, to an untrained eye.
All in all, this is what a companion podcast does. We broke down some pivotal moments.
Yeah.
We gave a little bit of BTS.
Yeah.
Also, the first time we went on the podcast, we brought the girls some Taco Bell.
That's true.
And I think that was just a really tender moment, being able to share some Baja Blasts with the queens of podcasting.
It really was nice.
And the fact that they had us on not once, but twice.
Yeah. I mean, the patience of that.
And they worked with us. I mean, look, we're not experienced podcasters. And this is the thing. I think that opened up our eyes to the fact that we need to hit the podcasting gym.
For sure.
I think we have to learn how to really podcast.
Yeah.
To be, to grow as a companion podcast.
Yeah.
So not only covering more podcasts, but I think just you and me taking some time one-on-one and podcasting.
Yeah.
We could sit in with guests. We could talk about things that are new and exciting, like what someone's dog is named.
Yeah.
What someone did over the weekend.
I think it'd be nice.
What someone is looking forward to in the coming days.
Yeah. That would be a blast, I think.
It's not going to be easy.
No, of course not. I would never expect it to be. But you're right. I think we need to really sit down and hone our own craft, because while we were, holding Haliey and Chelsea's feet to the fire week after week, we really find little time to address, things that we can work on.
That's right.
And I think for us to be better critics, we have to understand the craft a bit more solidly ourselves. And yeah, I'd love the opportunity to, have some more honest talk with you.
And
not that this isn't honest. I just mean...
you're not lying to me about anything, are you?
No. Of course not. It's just there, there's honest talk and chatter, and then there's honest criticism. And speaking of that, we have now gone on Talk Tuah. We have been in the room where the magic happens, and we have seen firsthand the production team, the everything that goes into shaping this show. And I don't know. I feel like maybe there is the possibility that we're now biased in our coverage going forward.
Well, of course we are now. They had us in twice, and they are unbelievably welcoming, warm. They made us feel at home, even though we came in with lots of nervous energy.
Yeah.
But they were patient with us. They were sincere.
Yeah, they were.
I don't know if we can fairly critique something that we're not going to want to say, anything that's a little, nothing but the best.
Yeah. We wouldn't want to be blasé about anything moving forward.
Because look, these girls deserve nothing but the best, truly.
Yeah.
And so it just feels a little wrong to critique. So I think what that just means is for right now,
Yeah.
I think we need to broaden our horizons.
For sure.
As a companion podcast, Haliey's always going to be there.
Of course.
And I'd love to revisit the show in the future.
Yeah. And look, we also did receive an open invitation to visit Nashville and spend time with them on their home turf and meet Pookie and Granny. And I just think there will be plenty of opportunities down the line to further, emphasize the hard work and skill that they put into Talk Tuah and any other projects that they decide to pick up. But yeah, I guess for the time being, it's just a matter of us, branching out and covering other podcasts, honing our podcasting skills too, so that we can, have better conversations. And yeah, it's all about broadening our horizons at this point. But thank you so much to everyone who has joined us along on this ride so far, who has been there at any stage of this in our coverage of Talk Tuah. We hope you've learned so much through our coverage of Haliey and Chelsea's show. And yeah, we're wishing them all the best.
That's right. And welcome to any maybe newcomers that are just joining along the ride, because we're just getting started.
Yeah.
Massive thank you to all the folks at Talk Tuah, not just Haliey and Chelsea, but again, even though the scorecards weren't the best for some categories, but it takes a lot of people to birth a podcast.
Yeah.
And so, huge thanks to not only them, but then also Haliey's managerial team, Johnny and Jamie, who really, helped make this happen.
Yeah.
We'd love to have Jamie on the podcast, Johnny as well. We'd love to sit down and talk with these guys.
Yeah.
And maybe work on our podcasting skills with them.
That'd be a blast.
But a massive thank you to Haliey and Chelsea for taking the time to sit down with us.
Yeah. Not once, but twice.
And just hear us out, talk to us. It was truly an honor.
Yeah.
I think this is our first piece of set decoration. I think we're going to be looking into renovating our podcasting studio.
Yeah.
We're inspired by their forward progress, and we thought, why don't we take a look at some, maybe lazy boys of our own?
Yeah.
Who knows?
So expect some sprucing up in the coming weeks or so.
But I am just so excited to keep podcasting with you weekly.
It's going to be a blast.
Until forever.
Until they shut Podbean down.
Until they shut Buzzsprout down.
So we'll see you guys next week. And yeah, in the meantime, if you haven't already watched our appearance on Talk Tuah, please do. It would mean a lot to us. And yeah, thank you so much for joining us this week and any week that you've been with us. And we hope to see you again in the future.
And do not hesitate to send us any critique whatsoever.
Yeah.
We're looking, we're listening. We want to grow as podcasters.
Yeah. So thank you again and take care.
Thank you guys.
Bye.
Bye.